If I had to restart the job hunt all over again in tech, this is what I would do differently, and this is what I learned. Some of you may know my story about how I applied to over 1,500 jobs over the course of a year and struggled to find a full-time product manager position. Now, this experience was hell. It was very difficult to go through emotionally, and at the same time, I learned a lot of things about what I did well in terms of managing the process, as well as things that I did wrong. So I want to share these lessons with you about what I would do differently if I had to restart this job hunt. The first thing I would do differently is I would immediately apply for another job. And I don't mean another job in technology. I mean applying for a job at a grocery store, at a retail outlet, at Home Depot, wherever I can just start making money and be eligible for health insurance. The reason why I would do this is due to the fact that this hunt took way longer than I expected. That means I used a lot of money from my emergency fund, which I know is a blessing to have, by the way, but I did spend and use quite a bit of money. Having a part-time job would have allowed me to reduce the amount of times I would have to dip into my emergency fund. And number two is if this part-time job or temporary job allowed me to get health insurance, basically that will allow me to not have to pay for my health insurance premiums, because it would cover it. For me, my health insurance premiums cost around $800 a month. So you can do the math. Job hunting for close to a year, $800 per month. That's close to $10,000. So that would be my tip, as well as my lesson for anyone that's job hunting. It's okay to get a bridge job, a temporary job that you know is not forever. It can be very helpful to have some money coming in, and it can be very helpful to have your health insurance premiums covered. The second thing I would have done differently is focus primarily on networking. This is a theme that everyone keeps hearing about getting a job. People say network, 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 don't focus on cold applications. Out of all the jobs I've ever had, including this upcoming job that I have, all of them except one were via networking. I only had one job via a cold application. So for my personal stats, it does prove that networking for me has been more effective at getting a job. A lot of people also are going through this pretty similar experience, and in addition, I did crunch my job hunt stats in terms of what allowed me to get the most interviews, or what was most effective at getting interviews and most efficient, and it was still networking. In the beginning, when I started my job hunt, I was focusing around 80% of my time on cold applications, 20% of the time on networking. If you're starting the job hunt or going through it, I would invert that. 80 to 90% networking, 10% maybe job applications. The other reason why I recommend networking is fundamentally, this is all about the connections that you make. And the more you can get in front of people that are the hiring managers or know the hiring managers, the more you can make more of an impression, the better your chances are at getting an interview and potentially down the road an offer. If you're sending out job applications and you don't have a very impressive pedigree, and this is not to say that the work you've done in the past sucks, but if you don't have like the brand name companies and all the things that just pop out on the resume, then chances are you are going about it the hard way. Sending out application after application, sending out hundreds of applications and barely getting a response is basically being insane. And admittedly, part of this is due to the market, right? It really is the employer's market. But I would say for a lot of people, cold applications, it is not your ticket to stand out. Your ticket to standing out is to actually form a connection at the company that you want to work at. The third lesson and thing I would do differently is I would make sure my LinkedIn and my resume is super targeted, super niche, and super specialized. There's been a trend that I saw in the product manager listings I was applying for. A few years ago, a lot of the product manager listings were relatively broad. It's like, hey, this is the company, we want someone that can do product strategy, do a roadmap, do feature prioritization, whatever, right? It was more focused on responsibilities and some outcomes, but never was really specialized. In the past 2 years in this job market, the listings have become super specialized. For example, they will specialize based on the type of product manager you are. Are you a growth PM? Are you one focused on 0 to 1 and innovation? Are you more of a core PM? Are you a platform product manager, etc.? Other ways of being specialized is the domain and industry that you're in, as well as the verticals that you're in. So basically what I'm trying to say is a lot of the job listings have become super specialized. Employers have a gluttony of candidates to choose from, so they can be super selective and look for, basically the candidate that meets all their criteria. So what I'm trying to say is, do not be a generalist, be hyper specialized. You want to be super targeted with your resume, super targeted with your LinkedIn as to what types of companies you help, what industries, what type of results that you drive. Being a generalist is not going to get you anywhere. I've heard a lot of objections from some people that I talk to where they say like, well, it's a really tough market, so if I niche down and specialize, then aren't I shutting the door to other companies? And my response to that, although I never really said it to their face, is by being so general, you are not standing out at all. There are a ton of candidates with their qualifications, even better, and they're just like you in terms of being general. How are you going to stand out among them? So my point being general doesn't open you up to more opportunities. It guarantees that you stay stuck in the crowd and lost among the crowd, such that employers and future employers can't really pick you out from the crowd. By positioning yourself as a specialist, you stand out from the crowd. You let the employer know exactly why you're the best fit for the company, and that is way more powerful than having a very generic resume and LinkedIn. For example, when I was applying for product roles, initially it was a bit general. My resume was pretty broad, my LinkedIn was pretty broad. However, over time, I started to really focus in on marketing technology, on e-commerce, on influencer marketing, which is really my background, as well as B2B SaaS products, which again is my background. And I started to get a lot more interviews. I was looking back on the interviews I had, and all the interviews except a few were in the realms that I just mentioned: marketing, e-commerce, influencer marketing, B2B SaaS. This is due to the fact that I really positioned my background as a good fit for these companies. However, if I didn't position myself that way and I just basically said I was a product manager, there's no way I would have gotten those interviews. Or if I did get those interviews, I would have been really, really lucky. So I would say, look at your work history, especially if you're in tech. Think about the industries, the verticals that you worked in, the results that you drove. Think of the type of products that you worked on, and just think about how can you position yourself as the top candidate. Because when it comes to this job market and technology especially, you have to be hyper-focused and hyper-specialized. You have to make it super crystal clear to the recruiter, the talent acquisition person, the hiring manager, as to why you are exactly the best fit for this role, and you have to make it very evident really quickly. So I would say this tip helped me a lot, because then I started to get a lot more callbacks, a lot more interviews related to the role that I was looking for, and that was correlated with my background. So with all that being said, I would say be a specialist, don't be a generalist. Being a generalist does not open you up to more opportunities. It just guarantees that you won't stand out at all. The next thing I would do differently, and the other thing I learned, is it is completely fine to take a contract job. This is actually just more so not because I had any shame or trepidation with taking a contract job. I was talking to a few other product managers, and a lot of people were saying like, well, I want a full-time job. I want it to be W-2. I don't want to do a contract job. It's temporary. However, there are benefits of taking a contract job. Number one is you don't have an employment gap because technically you have a job. Number two is you have money. That's pretty self-explanatory. And number three is I've noticed actually some companies use the contract role as a way of vetting candidates and then extending a full-time offer. They actually like the work that you do. So a contract job is something to not be ashamed of. Admittedly, I think a lot of people are probably saying, or will say in the comments, that getting a contract job is not easy as well, which is absolutely true. But I would say if you have the opportunity in the meantime to do a contract job, I'd recommend taking it, because it could actually be a springboard to something greater. So definitely do not knock having a contract job. There you have it, the things I would do differently if I had to restart my tech job hunt, as well as the lessons that I learned. If you found this video helpful, please like it, subscribe to this channel. If there's any feedback or anything that I missed, please leave it down in the comments below. I love hearing from you all, and I'll see you guys next time.